Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 3rd, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you're having a good Wednesday. Hopefully it's a great Wednesday. Hopefully you humped and you didn't get humped. Unless that's what you're into, then by all means, have at it. But no, my day was good. Pretty solid, standard issue Wednesday, and we love that. I will say it kind of had the Tuesday vibes because you're back at work on a holiday week, and even though for me personally it didn't feel like a holiday because I worked it, the job still moves as such, right? So it was pretty busy throughout the day, and I didn't love that. But overall, I feel like we maintained as best as we could. I will say though, I did have a couple of moments where I yapped a little bit, but you gotta you gotta give it to me. There was one time it was a homie in maintenance. You know, they were kind of in between a job, and so we were talking real quick, and then I had a coworker come up to me and it was a really nice, awesome, like damn near want to say wholesome conversation because he and I haven't talked for a while, and I didn't think there was any kind of beef or any kind of problem. They generally like to keep to themselves, and I'm in my little dumpster all by myself, so I try not to intrude or try not to be too whatever. But we say what up, well, chuck each other the deuces or something every once in a while. But he came right up to me today. And I think he had saw my post about my 1 year and, pretty much like, steer the conversation to talking about gym stuff. And I was happy to oblige him. And then we talked about some other stuff as well. But the main focus was gym related. And I got to say, y'all, that has been one of my favorite things about my fitness journey, if you will, over the year. Is that there has been times where I'm drinking brews with the homies. I'm in, random places here, there, everywhere. And next thing you know, I'm in a conversation talking about, just gym stuff. And I've loved that so much. It's been a very cool thing the cool interaction to have with people, my friends especially. Just talking about like what you're into when it comes to the gym, what you're trying to get out of it, all that yada yada yada, that good shit. And I think especially for me because I've been working out all by myself, so I really don't have a lot of time to kind of talk about it with many people outside of the interaction of, oh, you've lost so much weight, how have you done it? Which, like, don't get me wrong, that's always appreciated to have that kind of conversation, but it's nice to like really trade tips with people. When the conversation gets like that, that's really when I tend to like it. I get as excited about that as I do talking about news. Maybe not so much so, it depends on the topic maybe, but I just generally have enjoyed exchanging that information, having that conversation with people. So yeah, but like I said, we didn't just talk about that. We caught up on video games and things of that nature, so that was cool. Definitely a highlight of the day. But yeah, it was pretty busy at work and was kind of backed up, but we made do. Cowboys, you know what? They make do. Anyway, post work, it was a treat day. We did have popcorn. I took the cheesy Smart Pop, or it's Smart Food, by the way. I gotta stop calling it Smart Pop. But the Smart Food popcorn, which was the Cheeto cheese, and I put that in the bag of popcorn that I got, the free bag, and that was hidden. So we had a little bit of fresh popcorn, had a little bit of that, the cheesy popcorn. That was a vibe. That was good. We love that. But yeah, post work, we went to the gym, hit some iron, and that generally felt good. It was nice, not too busy. I want to say I got more or less in and out, even though I'm not going to lie, today was one of those days I was a little bit more on my phone than maybe I should have been, which kind of, held me up an extra 15 minutes or so. These things happen. But overall, I had a really good workout. I like that my Monday through Thursday is very like, I don't want to say like light, but it is light. Like it's just not heavy, so it's very much a maintenance situation. So that always feels good. Just kind of show up, hit your spots, and then you kind of get on out of there. That's what it feels like usually for me. It's just you do that for 2 hours. So yeah. Let's see. There's really not much else to yap about in the me sphere, in the Zay sphere. things are, generally moving along. We're making it happen, so that's good. We love that. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. I did say we have a lot of ground to cover this week, a lot of news, and I'm trying to do my best to get as much as I can. That's the motive. We try. Ooh. Okay. Our first story comes from the Associated Press. Famed streetcar in Lisbon derails and crashes, killing 15 people. A picturesque electric streetcar is one of Lisbon's big tourist attractions. Derailed, that is one of Lisbon's big tourist attractions. Derailed and crashed Wednesday, killing 15 people and injuring 18 others, emergency services said. 5 of the injured were in serious condition, and a child was among the injured. The National Institute for Medical Emergencies said in a statement. An unknown number of foreigners were among the injured, it said. Authorities called it an accident, the worst in the city's recent history, and it cast a pall over Lisbon's charm for the millions of foreign tourists who arrive every year. The yellow and white streetcar, which is known as Elavador de Gloria, and goes up and down the steep downhill in tandem with one going the opposite way, was lying on its side on a narrow road that it travels along. Its sides and top were crumpled, and it appeared to have crashed into a building where the road bends. Parts of the vehicle, made mostly of metal, were crushed. Several dozen emergency workers were at the scene, but most stood down after 2 hours, or after about 2 hours. Eyewitnesses told local media that the streetcar careened down the hill, apparently out of control. One witness said the streetcar toppled onto a man on the sidewalk. That would be just so scary. Like this thing you see every day, casually, scenically going up and down the street. And, next thing you know, it's careening towards you, careening into a building, smashing. Like, yeah, wild. Now I'm just gonna, breeze ahead here, but they don't know what the cause of the accident was as of yet, as of recording. They are launching an investigation into what caused it, so I imagine that's going to be something that, I hear about. If and when I hear about, we'll be back to the story and come back and further elaborate. But yeah, obviously very unfortunate, very tragic that this happened. Condolences. Though I will say in advance, I mean, all but one of these stories is going to have someone dying in it. That's just kind of what it is. Sometimes that is live from the abyss. It sucks down here, type of shit. Anyway, it's that kind of day, that kind of night. But also, the streetcar is technically called a funicular. So there you go. Fun fact. Take that with you. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that correctly too. So there you go. Tell your friends. You learned something. But let's move on to our next story. We're going to Wyoming. We're going to be zigging and zagging around today. From the ABC News. I don't know why I said the ABC News, but whatever. The 1 killed, 3 injured, in Wyoming mountains plane crash. A small plane carrying 4 passengers crashed in mountainous terrain in northern Wyoming, killing a 13-year-old girl and injuring 3 relatives, authorities said. On Monday at approximately 4:57 p.m., the Sheridan Law Enforcement Center in Wyoming received initial reports of possible lost or injured people in the area of Big Mountain within the Bighorn National Forest. Excuse me. Additional reports came in that an aircraft had possibly crashed in the area of Big Mountain within the Bighorn National Forest. According to a press release from the Sheridan County's office, Sheridan County's Sheriff's Office, Sheridan County Sheriff's deputies, Sheridan Area Search and Rescue, or SASAR, and Wyoming Regional EMS, or WREMS, responded to the area. Authorities flew a small plane over the area and confirmed there was evidence of a plane crash west of Big Mountain, authorities said. Sorry, I gotta get this. Big Mountain. I don't know why I just wanted to say it like that. My bad. Rescue and medical teams were dispatched to the crash site and found a single-engine aircraft with 3 surviving passengers and a 13-year-old girl who was confirmed deceased on the scene. So obviously that's very sad. That's very unfortunate, but good that there were at least, survivors here. The 3 patients, an 11-year-old male, a 54-year-old male, and a 53-year-old female, all of the same family, were reported to have serious injuries, according to the sheriff's office. Medical and rescue teams worked to stabilize the 3 patients. A Wyoming Army National Guard helicopter was requested to respond for hoist operations. 3 surviving passengers were taken to 2 separate hospitals where their conditions are currently unknown. The deceased girl's body was transferred to the Sheridan County's coroner, and officials said that she will be publicly identified at a later time. The coordinated effort between all of the rescuers, EMS, medical teams, and aircraft personnel was exceptional. Sheridan County Sheriff Levi Dominguez said, "This was and still is a very fluid scene. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their family." So yes, a very unfortunate plane crash. If I get more details on the people involved, then maybe we'll come back. Or, potentially what caused the plane crash. I know a lot of times these things are up in the air. But yeah, going to go ahead and leave that there. And we're going to move on to another story. Coming out of the Independent, coming from Pakistan. At least 13 people killed after suicide bomber targets political rally in Pakistan. A suicide bomber blew himself up outside a stadium on Tuesday night as supporters of a nationalist party were having a rally in insurgency-hit southwest Pakistan, killing 13 people and wounding 30, local police and hospital officials said. Police Chief Majid Quaisrani said the blast occurred near a graveyard close to the stadium on the outskirts of Quetta, the capital of Balochistan province. The body parts of the attacker were recovered. Oof. Yikes. Yeah. Ooh. I don't do trigger warnings anymore, but I kind of just have to, I feel like, softly establish that the whole episode usually is in some way, shape, or form, but you know how it goes. Wasim Baig, I'm sure I'm getting that wrong, a spokesman for the local government hospital said it had received 13 bodies and dozens of wounded, some in critical condition. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack. So I definitely want to mark that there because there are speculations and implications, but I really don't want to get into that this episode, mainly because it's out of my depth, and I know that. Like, I don't have any solid threads here. I just have people who are being quoted in this article, and they're making an accusation, they're making a statement, and I don't want to necessarily have that and be like, well, that's the take, because I don't fucking know for sure, and I don't have any, things to really back it as of yet. So I just wanted to, I guess, mark that for the record. But the rally was held to mark the anniversary of the death of Sardar Atiwala Mengal, a veteran nationalist leader and former provincial chief minister. The leader of the Balochistan National Party, Akhtar Mengal, was unharmed, but some of his supporters were among the dead and wounded, senior police officer Usama Amin said. Mr. Mengal is a vocal critic of the government and often holds rallies to demand the release of missing Baloch nationalists. I think that's more or less what I want to leave the story for right now. Definitely, once again, if we get more details, then we will be back to report in. But yeah, like I said, I just don't want to get too in the weeds here on this story in particular. But let's go ahead and hit our next story. We're back in the Trumpverse. Surprise, surprise. So I'm going to take a water break, and then we're going to talk shop about what this administration is up to. Who are they hitting up now? This is a bit of side news, but there have been some judge rulings on some of the shit that Trump has been up to, the Trump administration has been up to. like just off the top of my head, in terms of sending the National Guard to L.A., there's been rulings that like some of that shit's not legal, not on the level. There's another thing too that came up legally, and it's escaping me. I'm probably not going to commit much time to it because it's now once again continuing to kind of go down the chain of like, okay, well, it can be appealed, da 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 da. It probably will be something that goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. So like all these issues are pertinent, they're relevant, but they're also like, like a cool story, Judge, but like now we gotta, wait and see what happens next while Trump continues to do the next crazy thing he's gonna fucking do. But yeah, I felt like it was, relevant to at least mention that example. And I'm happy to at least see Trump losing to some kind of reason in American, government, that there's some kind of levers of power that are quote unquote working, at least temporarily. Yeah, you gotta take your wins where you can, huh? I don't know. But yeah, back to the task at hand. From the Associated Press, Trump says U.S. strike on vessel in Caribbean targeted Venezuela's Tren de Agua gang, killed 11. President Donald Trump said Tuesday the U.S. has carried out a strike on the Southern Caribbean against a drug-carrying vessel that departed from Venezuela and was operated by the Tren de Agua gang. They always love mentioning these fucking gangs. And they're like, yeah, it was definitely them. We know this for a fact. Da, 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 and they just go on. It's like, all right, we'll try to get into it, though. The president said in a social media posting, imagine this is probably on fucking Truth, that 11 people were killed in the rare U.S. military operation in the Americas, a dramatic escalation in the Republican administration's effort to stem the flow of narcotics from Latin America. Trump also posted a short video clip of a small vessel appearing to explode in flames. So it's important to know that this is a small vessel. Like, I think when you see it too, because I was gonna potentially use it for the thumbnail, but there's not much to really make out from a lot of the footage. It's like some kind of like infrared, like night vision ass shit too. But I don't even know if you can fit 11 people on said vessel here. So they might be very well inflating the numbers. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that this is all fake and all smoke and mirrors, but it does seem like, hey, the Trump, law enforcement or whatever, they made a move here on this, boat that they said was in open waters, a ship that was in open waters. And I think that this is almost like the equivalent of the law enforcement like drug money spread, where like you hype this shit up that you just did, this big bust, this big action, this big motion, and really it's like, brother, this is drops in the bucket. Like, look at the table, there's just a bowl here, what are we talking about? Like, this kind of feels like that, only we're talking about like lives of people lost and shit like that. And they're like, yeah, it was definitely Tren de Agua, and wait, there's more. The strike occurred while the terrorists were at sea in international waters, transporting illegal narcotics, heading to the United States, Trump said on Truth Social. There you go. No U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. Please let this serve as a notice that anybody thinking about bringing drugs into the United States of America. Oh, man, dude, retruth the fuck out of that, brother. And I'm proud to be an American. The video appears to show a long multi-engine speedboat. Now, don't get the word long confused. We're not talking long, man, here. We're talking like just a long speedboat. Multi-engine, so it goes really fast. It's a drug-running boat, potentially, for sure. I'm definitely, okay to believe that notion. But, 11 people, that's a pretty tight fit. I don't know. It's supposed to be packed to the gill with drugs. I don't know. At least coming to. Imagine maybe not. Coming fro, it's not going to have the drugs. I don't know, but that's a whole other thing. The boat is then briefly seen covered in flames. So they definitely blow it up. Let's see. The video, which is largely in black and white, it is not clear enough to see if the craft is carrying as many as 11 people. The video also did not show any large or clear stashes of drugs inside the boat. So it's like, dude, maybe this is a gang, like you're talking about. Maybe this is some kind of drug trafficking situation that you have thwarted. But like, once again, where's the beef? I don't know. Like, so far that's kind of up in the air, in the fucking water at this point. They talk about Tren de Agua. I kind of want to skip ahead here. Let's see. But I feel like a lot of this focus and the conversation is now like turned towards Nicolas Maduro, who is, the president of Venezuela. I put that in quotations or what have you. but essentially saying like the focus is on him and that he's tied to drug activity, which I'm not saying is not true. I definitely, can see where they're making these kind of, connections, but it does feel like more of an American narrative that it's kind of being established and saying, hey, well, we've arrested these people. We've tried these people in New York, yada, yada, yada. They have these connections to, Venezuela, top government. So therefore, ergo, like shit, it goes all the way up to the top. It's all the way up to the family. I'm not saying that's not real, but I'm saying it's kind of tenuous. And also, it's like, okay, I mean, you could kind of make connections like this to any nation state, from the drugs to the law enforcement to the people, and it goes all the way up to the top one way or another. Low key, it kind of feels like that. And it seems like we're just kind of putting that on the pile of like reasons to hate Maduro, which I'm like, I mean, there's plenty. But essentially, they're like, well, he's leftist, he's bad, we got to get him out of there. But I mean, to me, Trump and Maduro are not too different. Especially at this point, now that Trump really doesn't have any like big checks on his power, man. I mean, he's even been like, he said quotes recently like, yeah, people kind of want me to be a dictator, right? Like, that's kind of what y'all want. And it's just crazy to feel so comfortable like that you can say that shit out loud, right? Also, I didn't talk about this. This is kind of a thing that was happening over the weekend, over the Labor Day weekend. Despite the Trump administration being really fucking busy trying to deport Guatemalan children and whatnot, Trump in and of itself was kind of MIA. People hadn't heard from him. They were kind of, I guess people were worried, or more or less potentially like just trying to just come up with something in their head to be like, oh yeah, dude, you know what I think? Maybe he's dead, bro. Like, we already saw his old patchy little weird hand. Oh, he's looking a little grosser lately. He's probably fucked up. He's probably fucked up and dead. Nah, he's fine, dude. And there was supposed to be some big announcement, and people were kind of clamoring about that. People were like, well, maybe he might be announcing that he's getting sick and dying. Like, yeah, that's totally a Trump move. Yeah, he's going to be mad vulnerable. Yeah, no, I don't think that's what's going to happen. And sure enough, I think it was an announcement that he's like, guess what? We're moving NASA HQ or some space thing from Colorado to Huntsville, Alabama. The city of rockets, and that's something he wanted to do in his first term, and it didn't really fucking happen because he announces at the end of his term, and then Biden's like, I don't know about that, Jack. I'm gonna cut the malarkey and keep him in Colorado, and people are like, that's political, and he's like, snooze. I don't know. And so that was a thing. That was a big announcement. He's not dead. He's back, and he loves rockets. I don't know, man. Like, shit don't matter. Anyway, I know I'm supposed to be talking about this drug boat getting blown up. Us potentially going to war with Venezuela, I guess is kind of the notion. I guess it's kind of low-key being floated here. I don't think we're going to actually do that, but it sure seems like we're going to do some saber rattling about it, for now into the near future with Maduro. And, I mean, Maduro's down to do it right back. I mean, essentially that's kind of, I'm just kind of riffing and raffing through this right now, but that's essentially more or less Maduro's comeback in this situation. He's, of course, saying that, hey, I have no ties to any kind of drugs, any kind of drug trafficking. And there are statistics that say, hey, like there's not enough of a production of like any kind of cocaine or whatever that would be coming out of Venezuela. Sure, it's definitely a hub, but you could definitely say that focus, that big hub, is kind of moved to places like Ecuador, if I'm not mistaken. So, is it really right for the Trump administration to be so doggedly focused potentially on Venezuela? No, probably not. But this administration moves in its own way, in its own beat, and we all kind of just have to be subject to it. It's kind of how the vibe is. It's kind of how things are going as of now. So if we want to actively beef with Venezuela, then that's kind of what we're gonna do. And if we're gonna blow up all their speedboats, I guess, I don't know, and then we're gonna make America safer again and greater again, and everything's gonna be fucking awesome and great, dude. Just you wait. It's just around the corner. Don't worry. Anyway. I want to close out with, summer is almost over. It's closing, right? But Epstein summer, it's still going, baby. The haze is still there. I don't want to say baby when I do that. I got to strike that from the record. But speaking of records, we're going to get to that. So let's go ahead and do our last break, and we'll close it out there. Oh, I do think I remember one of the other things the judge struck down. I think they said that how the Trump administration went about like shutting down Harvard research, like I think via the funding or whatever, they ruled that wasn't cool. That wasn't all right. So there you go. There's that. And then also a random news thing that that just creeped into my head from the ether. Apparently, I think it's Newsmax is suing Fox News because they're going about like I'm paraphrasing badly here, but like they're monopolizing the content, the space, the news space, the conservative news space in a way that's not right. It's criminal. I'm like, good luck proving that one. But I do love seeing the girlies fight, I guess. I don't know. That's very funny. It's a very funny lawsuit. So who knows? Maybe we will wind up covering that. But I got that headline and I was just like, that's a good one. That's a juicy Lucy. Like I said, there's so much news, y'all. There's just so much. That's why it's like pouring out of me right now. All right. Last story coming out of ABC News. The ABC News. That's right. Thousands of Epstein-related records from DOJ released, Oversight Committee says. So that's a big number, right? You hear that number and you're like, damn, there's got to be some big tidbit of information that we are about to get, unloaded on, and I got this story yesterday. It was making the rounds and I'm like, look, we got a busy docket. I'm going to wait until tomorrow and I'm going to hear what the fuck is coming out of these records. You know what I mean? And, let's dig in. The House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform said it has released tens of thousands of records related to Jeffrey Epstein, provided by the Department of Justice. On August 5th, Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for records related to Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, and the Department of Justice has indicated it will continue producing those records while ensuring the redaction of victim identities and any child sexual abuse material. The committee said in a release announcing the release of 33,295 pages of Epstein-related records that included a link for where to access them. Democratic members of the House Oversight Committee have previously said that most of the files turned over by the DOJ are already public. California Representative Ro Khanna has said 97% of are in public domain, and while 3% are new. So that's more or less the story. If I'm being honest with you, we got 3% of potentially any kind of new information. Of that, it doesn't seem like any of it is of merit. In terms of like over the past week or so, like the release or the, finding out, like actually hearing or reading transcripts of the Maxwell interview with, was it Todd Blanche? I mean, okay, like you get to hear her voice, you get to hear what she's fucking talking about. And I mean, that's definitely relevant, but it's once again, it's stuff that was already in play. It's stuff you already knew about. There is a push by Republican, was it Tom Massey? He's trying to like rally. Also, the Democrats are like getting behind this as well, but they want a release of everything. And, essentially like, yeah, we want the Epstein files. And, the Republicans' retort to that is like, dude, that's what we're gonna do. Like, that's what we're getting to. This is all supposed to like come out now that we're all focused on doing it. That's at least the Republican angle on this. But I'd argue that really everyone in the room kind of knows that we're just digging through vaporware file here. Like, there's just nothing here of merit that is actually useful. At least not that is actually being presented. I think that there's definitely more to tell, for sure, in the Epstein story, of course. I just don't think we're getting it out of this process at all. It seems like it's a lot of just juggling information, pushing paper around, and we're pulling teeth to even do that. Now, something that did kind of come up, I think was it yesterday or today, the victims rallied in DC. They came out, and they made this pitch, and I'm paraphrasing it yet again, mea culpa, but essentially saying, look, we will sit down and we'll connect the dots fucking for you. Okay, we'll tell you who did this, who did what, and we can at least illuminate that and say that shit and put that on the line. I mean, there might be something there, for sure. But I mean, once again, we're kind of talking public opinion. But I think at this point, once again, in terms of actually getting like dead to rights legal, oh, we gotcha here. I just don't think that it's there. I don't think, and if it is there, I don't think the government's really gonna give that shit up for one reason or another. You know what I mean? I don't really feel like I'm being that conspiratorial saying that. Unfortunately, I just think that's just the way that this shit has been this whole time, man, when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And people like him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's going to be any kind of fucking justice, in this situation. But goddamn, I fucking hope so. I really do. But it doesn't seem from any of this, like, big dump of records that we have anything of real merit. But that being said, yeah, I think we're only 2 or 3 days out of this thing's really, being released. So we'll see if maybe that of that 3%, that new shit, that maybe there is something there that is a thread that hasn't been seen or something to that effect. I don't know. But, like I said, most of it is all information that's pretty much in play. So I would say we really are just digging into a nothing burger, kind of chasing a ghost, if you will. But I mean, once again, for better or worse in that regard, the information is out there. Like, you know what I mean? The people that Epstein is connected to, all that shit, it is there. It is just a matter of like saying, okay, well, it, is the law going to do anything about it? And sadly, more times than not, push comes to shove, it doesn't seem like they're that willing to. So, I mean, we'll see though. We'll see how the future goes. We'll see how things progress. But yeah, that's really all I got for today. If you'd like to help out support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Whatever platform you like to listen. I should be there. I'll be waiting. But leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. All of the stars, if you go to rate, that is very appreciated, very useful for the algorithm. Thank you if you do. But I really just appreciate you coming through. I really just appreciate you hanging out. So, that's really all I have, though. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.